back to working on our table again, and we have some functions that I want to show you. A couple of them are specific to tables, and a couple of them don't necessarily have to go with tables, but they're really useful. What we have first is we are going to start off with a database function, and the database functions always use a D at the beginning, so I'll type in equals and then D. And what we're going to do is we want to find the average of one of our columns based on some criteria. And I'll kind of explain as we go along. So I type in the word average here, and then I open my parentheses. Now it's going to say database, and if I had my table over here named, I could probably just type in the name. But in this case, what I will do is I will just select my column headings and then the data underneath it, and then you'll put in a comma. Now the key here is we got to tell it what field we want to get our information from. And what I want to do is I'm going to find, rather than saying the percentage of quota, which is what the label says, I'm just going to do the quota for this. It'll make it a little bit easier. And since this is a text name, I'm going to type in some quotation marks, and then you type in the name of the field. So we want to find the average of the quota. Okay? So we're going to find the average of that, but now we have to set our criteria. And this is where this runs a little bit different. What it is looking for are two cells. One cell tells it a field type, and then another cell underneath it tells it what to pull out of that field. And in this case, we're going to be selecting these two cells right here. So what the computer is going to do now is it will go look in the very first and find type. It'll use the type column, and then it will go to the second cell and use inside as the criteria. So now it's only going to pull out the people who work inside, and then it will find an average of their quota. So I'll close my parentheses and hit enter, and that would be the average of that. Okay? We could do the same thing for the outside, and again it would just be equals D average. Alright, I'll open my parentheses, I'll choose my database, put my comma in. The field that I'm going to be doing, we'll keep it quota. And then what I'm going to use for my criteria, I'm going to be using the type column, and I want it to pull out only the people who work outside. So that's the average for those individuals. Now let me show you some things though that I like to use that are not database functions. And they are if functions. And what we do is that it's a little bit modified. Let's say I want to find out how many people have A's. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in equals, and then I'm going to use count if, and then open my parentheses. And this is a real simple one. What we do is we select our range, and then we tell it what criteria. In this case, we want to pull out the number of A's. Notice again I'm using quotation marks because it's text. And it will tell me how many people got A's in there. Now, we just did that, but we'll take it another step further. We're going to use sum if. In this case, we want to find out the total amount of money raised by the people who have A's. So I'll do sum if. And this adds we now have three different things that we have to fill in. We still have our range, okay, just like we did before. We still want to pull out only the people who have A's, but now we need to have a summed range. What do we want to add together? And that's going to be the year-to-date funds raised. So now I select that range of cells, and then I'll close my parentheses, and when I hit enter, it adds up the sales for anybody who has an A. And those are some of the basic formulas that I like to use when I'm working with tables.